What's up, guys? Wilfred back again with the part 3 of the 1998 Kawasaki STX 1100 build. On the last video, we did the PVC pipes on the electrical box. So now that's all nice and sealed up. Today, we are going to be building up the reeds, installing them with their gaskets, putting the manifold, basically everything except the carburetor on that side. Let me show you what I mean. All right, so we got the new reeds. We got all our screws. These are the gates for each reed. You get 2 of them per reed. And this is the actual reed. For those of you that don't know where your reed is, so your reeds, so you got your carburetors right along the pistons or the cylinders. Once you take off the carburetors, you'll have this guy in place. So you just have to take this off and then you'll be able to get to your reeds. The gaskets, if you haven't done it in a while, they'll be pretty caked on there, so you'll have to take your time cleaning all this up. And on the reeds, sometimes they'll get stuck on the back. But other than that, I'm going to get set up with the reeds and show you how to build one up, and we'll go from there. All right, so reeds are pretty easy. Essentially, all you're doing, you're putting one of these on this side, and then a plate over that, so it'll kind of look like that. And then you just slam your bolts in. It's 4 bolts right at the bottom, right through here. So I'm gonna do this one and I'll show you how it looks. And that's essentially what you want. You want these flaps to close back on themselves. I had to change these because I had a few that were cracked. They weren't sealing all the way. So, essentially, if you can see from inside of there and this flap isn't closing and you can see sunlight through the edge of a flap, then that means, either you got to take it off and flip it and put it back on, or just get some new ones altogether. I decided to get new ones because I had some cracked ones. They're pretty old. So I'm gonna build the rest of this up and show you, and we can go from there. These are a little pain to line up and start, but once you get the first one, the rest of them just kind of fall in place. Alright, so that is one finished reed. So you're just gonna do the same thing to the other two. You should have three if you have an 1100. If you have the 900s, the STX or the Kawasaki 900, I think those are only 2 cylinders, so you only have 2 of these. Everything on that is pretty much the same. It's just you're doing it a third time because this is a 3rd cylinder. So, but that is a finished reed. So I'm gonna do the other 2 and I'll be back when I'm done with that. So there you go. All 3 built up, looking nice and new. I just realized that my top end rebuild kit did not come with the seals for the reeds. So I just ordered those. So we're gonna have to install these at a later video, but for now, we'll do the oil delete kit, the oil mix delete kit, and we'll start assembling the pistons. To put the cylinder back on is gonna be easier with 2 people, so I'm gonna ask my brother Manny to come by here and give me a hand because this thing is too heavy to do with one hand and try to bring the cylinder into each piston. You got to do them in staggered, so you want to bring the rotation. This one you want the piston to be at its highest, this one medium, this one lowest, and you'll kind of put 1, 2, and 3 on and then slide it down. So I'm gonna get set up for the oil delete and I'll show you how that's done. All right, so this is what you'll need to do the delete kit. I think this was only like $13. Comes with your cap, your 2 new bolts, and these 3 caps are for the oil feeds going into the carburetor. Now I'm not gonna install those today because I still gotta rebuild the carburetor, but essentially this is what the guy did before I got the jet ski. They go into there and just cap it off. So I'll show you that at a later video. Oh, and this was the little cap that broke when I was talking about on a past video. So as you can see, it's broken right there. If you can focus right there. So we're gonna do the delete and we'll go from there. All right, so this kit didn't come with this O-ring. This O-ring came off of the old unit. So it's just sitting there. I took it off just so we have a really good seal. I don't think anything gets in there. It's kind of like its own chamber, but we're gonna put this on just to be safe. So just gonna slide it on there like that. And then this only goes in one way. So I'm just gonna put it to the side for now. I am using the orange thread locker. I don't want to use the blue because that's just really, really strong. And if I ever need to take this stuff off again, I don't want to break any bolts. So we're gonna use the orange one. I've been using this on almost anything that I'm putting together, so there's one. There's two. A good and tight trick. So, and that's basically what it'll look like when you are done. There's no water feeds or anything that go to this. It's just oil feeds. So if you look at yours, you'll see there's one here. Like if you got it in the engine, there's a water line right here, and then you got this water line here. It looks like it's going to this unit, but it is not. So don't be discouraged. This unit only has the oil, so when you delete the oil, luckily mine already came with the oil tank off, all the lines off of it. So I'm not gonna really pretend like I know where everything went and how everything came off, but if I had to guess, it was pretty simple. You unstrap the oil tank, whatever lines are going from the oil tank, you take it off of the oil pump over there. I do have the old oil tank. I'll post it up for sale if you guys want it, but essentially it's just one line, I think, one or two lines. So, and we're gonna set up to put pistons on. So I'm gonna put the pistons on, and I'll show you how that's done. All right, so after you've cleaned your surface area, I used brake cleaner. You wanna drop in your gasket. So this gasket only goes in one way. You got two dowel pins, one here, and then another one here. And then you got the word up right there, so that has to be reading correctly when you drop everything in. So I'm gonna drop it in, and then I'll show you what I mean. This is what I mean. It's pretty hard to do this with pistons on, so I'm doing them without the pistons on. So this dowel pin and this dowel pin need to line up with the gasket, and then you also want this to read up. So the up symbol will be on the intake side, and the dowel pins will be on the exhaust side. All right, so I'm gonna get set up for the pistons and show you how that's done. All right, so this is what everything looks like. We have 3 bearings. piston bearings, one for each piston. Then we have 2 rings per piston, the crossed bar that kind of holds everything in place, and these little rings make sure this bar doesn't come out. So I'm gonna use 2-stroke mix to lube up the bearing and this crossbar. Once I actually am ready to put in the cylinder, then I'll lube up the piston real good and get it ready to install. So I'm gonna show you how I set this up and we'll go from there. So first thing you wanna do is get your piston. If you notice on the piston, you got these little divots. So now your rings are not exactly perfectly flush. You can see like a lip on there. I'm trying to see if it'll focus. On it, but you could kind of, it's not perfectly flush. So I'll show you why that's like that. So if you look in here, there's like a little rod inside of there. And now the ring has a lip that's missing an edge on the top. So you want to put the ring so when you close it, it'll close itself on the divot on both rings. So do the first one so I can show you what I mean. So now, when your piston closes, it'll close into that divot nice and perfectly. You can see that. Sorry, my camera is not wanting to focus very well, but you can see that. So you essentially want to do the same thing to all the pistons, and you'll be good to go. Now, what you want for this is you want to lube this up. We're just going to use a finger here, throw some in there, put some on the whole edge, get it nice and lubed up. Nice and lubed, because this is going to be rotating like 100% of the time the engine is on. So, and you also want to lube up your bearing. So you just want to put a light coating on it. I'm just wetting my fingers and rubbing it on. And these will go through the hole of the crank. They'll sit just like that. Now this will go through the inside of the bearing. Just like that. Make sure we're getting a nice rotation. Looks like it. Now this is pretty important. So, because these like to pop. They like to pop clean off, and you do not want it falling into the cylinder. So what I do is grab a couple rags. And I'll just wrap the cylinder hole, or the crank hole, So there's no chance of nothing going in there. Let's grab a couple bags. Could even just do that. So now that there's nothing gonna fall in there, your piston has an arrow. I don't know if you can see it. That arrow goes to the exhaust side, not the intake side, the exhaust side. So you want to make sure that's right, because if not, you could run into problems. You know what? I am gonna lube these rings up before I install it, just so they move easy. Now we get a nice rotation out of them. So now, remember, you want that arrow pointing towards the exhaust when you install this piston. So you're gonna slide this cross member off. Slide your piston above and slide this through. Sometimes it's easier than others. So just gonna have to play with it. Lube up the inside of the piston as well. That bar's going through. So now, just to get it started, it's probably better if you freeze it. If you have a freezer. Yep. So you just need to get it in its right little spot. I'm just trying to start it outside of the piston. Alright, so now we're at a point that it moves pretty easy. Now we're just gonna slide it over the piston and just feed it through. There you go. All right, now these pins, there's a slot on the side of the cylinder, and you just kind of just put these right in there. So what you're doing is, now these like to pop. That's why I have the towels here, because I don't want nothing falling into to the actual bottom end. So we're just gonna put in one side. These aren't really super hard, but they can be finicky. So I like to use, let me get a screwdriver. I like to use a screwdriver to help me out. So we're just going to pop it into its place. That's it. Just sit right there. And now that rod that we sent through won't come out. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. See what I mean? Then we'll drop. That'll be your worst nightmare. First piston's in. That ain't going nowhere. Alright, so this is the first piston done. Get all this stuff out of the way. There you have it. First piston in place, ready to rock. There's your clip that kind of holds the whole thing together. That clip likes to come out when you're trying to put it in there, so I recommend putting some towels down so nothing falls in these cylinders while you're doing this. Here's the other side. And clip it's in his groove. And I just got to do the other two. So I'm going to do the other two, and then we'll come back and show you the finished product. And there you have it. 3 pistons installed. Looking good. This thing's going to rip. What I'm really most excited about is to see the compression difference with a brand new fresh build compared to what I had in there when I bought it. So we gotta wait for Manny to get here so we can put on the cylinder, but when that happens we'll show you how we get that done and bolt up the cylinder in. All right, so we got the cylinder in. We ended up taking the pistons off, putting them into the cylinder first because of the rings, then coming down with it and putting the rods and putting that little pin on each one. I mean, it just seemed easier. That's how we did it, but we're going to finish torquing these down. It's got its own torque spec and its pattern. You can see the numbers along the edge of each bolt, and the same goes for the top. It's on the lid, so you see those numbers at each bolt. So I'm gonna set this, get these bolted down, and I'll show you when we're done. All right, you guys, so we got the cylinder on, the cylinder cover on, and the header on. I'm waiting for Manny to come back with the torque wrench, but other than that, sounds good. Alright guys, so we got the engine back in the ski. For now, this is where we're gonna leave the video, but next time when those gaskets come in, we'll put in the intake side and put in the exhaust side, hook up all the wiring, and test out the compression. But I'm happy with it. So tune in next time. Make sure you like and subscribe. Finally got my workbench back. Make sure you like and subscribe. It'll help me out a lot. Next time we'll do the intake, like I said, and start working on the carburetors. We gotta start doing those because it's near time. All right, guys, y'all take it easy. Enjoy the sun. Peace.